Look at Japanese shogi. The pieces are pointed wooden wedges marked with kanji characters. Compare that to Chinese xiangxi, where players push circular wooden pucks across a dividing river, running through the center of the board. At first glance, neither of these share any structural DNA with the marble knights of Western chess. But trace the rules of these games backward through history, and they converge on a single origin point: India, 7th century AD. This common ancestor is called Chaturanga. It was built to serve as a highly precise, miniature simulation of real-world military strategy. To understand the mechanics running silently beneath the world's most popular strategy games, we have to look at how an ancient Indian army was actually built, equipped, and deployed. The simulation takes place on the Ashtapada, an uncheckered 8x8 grid with abstract corner and center edge markings whose meanings are lost to history. The word Chaturanga means 4 limbs, mirroring the ancient Akshauhini formation and splitting forces into 4 distinct combat branches. The first limb is the Padati, the infantry. They move identically to modern pawns, marching forward one step at a time to form a slow-moving physical shield at the front of the line. Behind them sits the second limb, the Ashva, or cavalry. These are mounted warriors equipped to break deadlocks and bypass frontline obstacles. Because they represent soldiers on horseback, the Ashva move exactly like the modern knight. They are uniquely capable of leaping over other pieces, neatly simulating a cavalry unit executing a flanking maneuver. Together, the infantry and cavalry dictate the baseline rhythm of the board. They represent the bulk of the troops in standard historical combat, setting up the physical constraints of the battlefield. The third limb is the Ratha, or chariot, moving in straight, sweeping lines across any number of empty squares, exactly like a modern rook. It is the single most powerful offensive piece in the game. But there is a historical glitch here. By the 7th century AD, chariots had been entirely obsolete in actual warfare for hundreds of years, long replaced by heavy cavalry. In real life, these were heavily armored, terrifying siege units. On the board, however, the elephant is a mystery. Look at these 3 conflicting movement paths. The original rules for the Gaja are lost, and surviving ancient texts offer completely contradictory descriptions of how it moved: a 2-square diagonal leap, a single step diagonally, or a 2-square horizontal jump. This unresolved rule explains exactly why the elephant equivalent pieces mutated so heavily as the game migrated, leading to the different movement rules we see in modern Korean, Thai, and Japanese adaptations. Protecting these 4 limbs is the command structure, the Raja, or king, and his mantri, the minister or general, who moves cautiously, just 1 diagonal space at a time. The strict, limited movements of the king, clashing against the fluid, unresolved mechanics of pieces like the elephant, created an adaptable system. It was structured enough to work as a game, but open enough to evolve. As Chaturanga migrated westward out of India and into Sassanid Persia, both its name and rules began to shift. It became known as Shatranj, played with highly abstract carved bone pieces. From the Middle East, the game exploded outward in multiple directions, pushing simultaneously into late medieval Europe and deeper into the Asian continent. As it crossed borders, its military vocabulary was translated to fit local political structures. The Indian minister eventually morphed into the European queen, and the war elephants were replaced by Catholic bishops. Yet despite these massive cultural makeovers, the core tactical balance of the simulation, the interplay of unique units on an 8x8 grid, survived perfectly intact. Every time players sit down at a chessboard today, they are unknowingly commanding the 4 specialized branches of an ancient Indian army, keeping a 1,500-year-old war alive.